6 kinds of causes, and vipaka and nishyanda are 2 of the 5 effects, the others being purushakara, adhipati, and visamayaga. By vipaka effect is meant that the nature of an effect is not the same as the nature of the cause. When a man does something good, he is rewarded with something enjoyable. Pleasure and goodness are not of the same character, but there is an intimate relationship between them as cause and effect. In the case of the nishyanda, however, cause and effect are of a similar nature. An act of goodness tends to produce the disposition to do more good. An effect of the same quality flows out of its cause. As thus the nishyanda and the vipaka are considered as expressing different forms of effect, or reward, or something that flows out of a cause. They came to be designated as result, though somewhat indiscriminately. With all that we can say about it, however, it does not seem to be quite correct to regard nishyanda as meaning pa. For the idea explicitly expressed in the Lankavatara is that of flowing out, or depending on, and not of being rewarded. The teaching of the Nishyanda-Buddha, which concerns with the individualizing phase of existence, is derived or flows out of the nature of reality, as we plainly read in the phrase, Nirmita-Nishyanda. That there is no idea of enjoyment in the makeup of the Nishyanda-Buddha is evident. But there is something in the Lankavatara remotely suggesting the idea where the Nishyanda-Buddha is spoken of as being in the Akanishtha heaven. Read the following. It is like the Alayavijnana, O Mahamati, which makes manifest instantly a world of corporeality, homestead, and utility, which is the projection of one's own mind. Even so with the Nishyanda-Buddha, O Mahamati, maturing the conditions of all beings, he directs the disciplining of his devotees at his abode, which is in a mansion in Akanishtha heaven. It is, O Mahamati, like the Dharma-Buddha being illumined instantly by the rays issuing from the Nishyanda and from the Nirmana. Even so, O Mahamati, with the realization of the truth in one's inmost consciousness, it instantly shines forth, turning itself away from the false views of being and non-being. In this quotation we gather that the Nishyanda-Buddha has his abode in Akanishtha heaven, which is the highest of all the worlds that are designated as having a form. And that he emits rays of light like the Nirmana-Buddha, which are reflected on the Dharma-Buddha. That the Akanishtha is resplendent with light is seen from the verse of the chapter on Abhisamaya. Akanishtho virajate. And that the Bodhisattva attains perfect enlightenment after passing beyond the 10th stage of Bodhisattvahood and becomes a full-fledged Buddha in Akanishtha heaven is referred to at several places. In the Lankavatara. Evidently this heaven is the abode of all the Nishyanda-Buddhas. That is, Buddhas of Samagakaya, or Buddhas who are enjoying the state of supreme blessedness as the result of their long and arduous spiritual training. While this is the natural outcome of spirituality, it is no doubt also the outflow of the highest truth, depending on which all things exist. Was it then for this reason that the Nishyanda-Buddha came to be translated as regards the Vipaka Buddha, or Vipakastha Buddha, as corresponding to the second of the Kaya Trinity? Bare mention is made of it in the 108 questions, and in the Sagathakam, which may be said not to belong to the Lankavatara proper. In the first place we have, what are the Nirmajataka Buddhas? Why, what are the Vipakaja Buddhas? And what are the Tathata Buddhas? Pray tell me. A few pages down we read, you have asked me what are the Nirmalnika and the Vipakastha Buddhas, and the Tathata Buddhas. The following is from the Sagathakam. The Vipakika Buddhas. The Nirmarka Buddhas. All beings, bodhisattvas, and all countries in the 10 quarters, the Nishyanda, the Dharma, and the Nirmala Nirmasika, they all issue from Amitabha's land of happiness. What is told by the Nirmanika Buddhas and what is told by the Vipakaja Buddhas both are the doctrine expounded in Sutras of the Vaipulya class. You should understand its esoteric meaning. What is told by sons of the Buddha is what the leaders also announce. But the speech of the Nirmanika is not delivered by the Vipakika Buddhas. In order to show the relation between the Sanskrit originals for the various names of the Buddhas and their Chinese equivalents variously given in the different translations, they are tabulated on the following page. The Nishyanda and the Nirmana-Buddha. As I said before, the distinction between the Mula Tathagata and the Nishyanda-Buddha or Nirmita-Buddha is quite well defined. For the first is the transcendental substance of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, without which nothing can exist, nothing can come into existence. For the Nirmita-Buddhas are not karma-created, and the Tathagata is not in them, nor is he anywhere else than with them. Not only that the Nirmana-Buddha derives its raison d'etre from the Dharmata, but that the Nishyanda also is depending upon the Dharmata has already been mentioned. But as to the differentia of the Nirmeva, there is some confusion between the latter and the Nishyanda. For it is manifestly the work of both Buddhas to discourse on the categories of individuality and generality. They both belong to the world of relativity. What most definitely distinguishes the Nirmana-Buddha from any other kinds of Buddhahood is his coming in direct contact with the world of suffering beings and listening to their fears and anxieties. Though it may not be one of his functions to reveal to us directly the secrets of the inner realization, he helps us ignorant beings to know where to look for the ultimate seat of enlightenment and emancipation. This then we may regard as characteristic of the Nirmeva Buddha. This teaching by the Nirmanika Buddha is occupied with the views entertained in the minds of the simple-minded and does not reveal to them any truth whose nature may go against their understanding. The supreme wisdom whereby the realization of the inner thing is made possible, or the blissful enjoyment of a samadhi. That the Buddha assumes a variety of forms, so transformed as to bring all beings into maturity and shine in glory like the moon in water, or like the sacrificial fire, can be gathered from several passages scattered in the Lankavatara. In the Sagathakam, however, quite explicit references are made to the Nirmana-Buddha. Akanish, the heaven, where no sins prevail, is inhabited by those who are always in the practice of non-discrimination, detached from the mind and its workings. They are in possession of the powers, psychic knowledge and self-mastery, and perfect in the attainment of the samadhi. And there they are awakened into full enlightenment, and here perceived as the Nirmita Buddha. There are millions of the Nirmajana forms of the Buddhas, they are, indeed, immeasurable, and they are manifested everywhere. The simple-minded following them listen to the truth. Further on we have this. There is a land and there are the Nirmana-Buddhas teaching the doctrine of the one vehicle and triple vehicle. I never enter into Nirvana, for the Buddhas know that all is empty and has nothing to do with birth and death. The Buddhas are classified under 36, each of which is divided into 10. In accordance with the mentalities of all beings, they are manifested in all lands. While in the world of discrimination there is multitudinousness, but in fact no multitudinousness exists. Even so it is with the Dharma-Buddha in this world. The Dharma-Buddha is the true Buddha, and the rest are his transformations. In accordance with the original nature of beings they are seen appearing as Buddhas. Discrimination takes place because of being misled by delusive appearances. Discrimination, however, is no other than suchness. The appearances do not discriminate by themselves. The self-nature Buddha, svabhavika, the enjoyment Buddha, sambhoga, the transformation Buddha, nirmita, the further transformed Buddha, pancanirmita, and the 36 groups of Buddha, they are the self-nature Buddhas. In these quotations we are able to trace the evolution from the Dharma-Buddha of the Nishyanda and the Nirmana-Buddhas. But as regards the distinctive characteristics of the Nishyanda and the Nirmana-Buddhas, we are still kept in the dark. A great deal is spoken of the Nirmana-Buddha in the Sutra, perhaps from his deep interest in the affairs of mortal beings. We can almost safely dispense with the Nishyanda-Buddha as far as we mortals are concerned. This Buddha is evidently enjoying his blissful existence up in Akanish, the heaven, and enveloped in the light of supernatural character he does not seem to be very anxious to enter into human affairs. But it is possible that he takes upon himself a form of the Nirmeva Buddha when we look up to his, wishing that the Exalted One might cast his pitying eye on us who are in nature not altogether different from his former self. Perhaps this is the reason why the number of the Nirmana-Buddhas is beyond measurement, and why they appear to us in the form in which we conceive them to be, though each of us does this according to the light of his understanding. This being the case, in all likelihood, we need not wonder how the Nirmana-Buddha came to be designated as above quoted as the Buddha of enjoyment. And at the same time we can conclude that the conception of the triple body has not attained its full development in the Lankavatara. Inasmuch as the Nirmana or the Vipaka does not come out clearly delineated. While the significance of the Nirmana is definitely emphasized to arrest our attention in the perusal of the Sutra. The Lankavatara must be said to belong to the earlier period of Mahayana Buddhism. That the Sagathakam is a later addition to the main text can also be inferred in this connection, as it describes the relations of the different Buddhas in a more detailed and organized manner. And further as it introduces the idea of the Sambhoga which has not at all been made a subject of reference in the Sutra proper. There is another verse in the Sagathakam whose meaning is hard to get at but which points to the relationship existing between the three Buddhas. In the Sanskrit text it reads as follows. This is translated in the Tiang version thus. Depending on the Dharmakaya there is the Nishyanda, and from the Nishyanda these rises the Nirmana-Kaya. This is or these are the fundamental Buddha, and the rest are all transformed manifestations. The first part of the way translation is unintelligible, while the latter part fully coincides with the Tiang. The unintelligible part reads. The Vipaka Buddha. The nature of a Vipaka Buddha is that of a Nishyanda Buddha when this is understood in the sense of a result flowing from an antecedent cause. That is, as one of the five effects, and not in the sense of something secondary which issues out of a more primary substance. And the idea is closely connected with the theory of karma. This is not difficult to see, for the theory of karma always requires something resulting from a cause. That is, according to it, no act can perish without leaving its effect in one way or another. The theory of karma is another name for the law of causation. A deed, whether moral or psychological, therefore, once committed in the inner consciousness, or by the physical body, will never avail to bring, not only on the doer or thinker himself, but upon those intimately related to him some result someday, whose value will somehow correspond with the antecedent. Buddhism, thus, has developed an elaborate science treating of the law of causation in the moral world. This was the case especially with the earlier followers of the Buddha before the Mahayana began to develop to its full strength. The Jataka tales are compiled wholly with the view of acquainting us with practical narratives illustrating the theory of karma. One of the forms in which the theory of karma has impressed its marks in Mahayana Buddhism is the conception of the Vipaka, or the Nishyanda Buddha. The result of the moral discipline known as the 6 or 10 perfections which every aspirant for Buddhahood is required.